We are all living with something. We are all living with something that shuts us down, that limits us, and makes it hard for us to open up and reach out. For some of us, it is grief, or maybe a serious lack of self-worth. For others, it's rejection, depression, mental illness. Maybe it's a physical illness or aging in general. Maybe it's career pressures or job loss or a major move or retirement, addiction, failure, stress. Maybe it's a financial problem. Maybe it's the challenges. I have to go over here to speak to the young people. Maybe it's the challenges of being a parent. Maybe it's a lack of purpose. But we're all dealing with something that shuts us down, and it causes us to turn more and more inward, increasingly isolated. And that's why I want to talk about this very important topic that touches us all on some level, wrestling with isolation. Today's gospel story from Mark, the 5th chapter, features a woman in isolation. She is separated from her community. First and foremost, she is a woman, and you've heard me talk about this a lot. In those days, at that time in history, women were the inferior gender. That was the common thought. Women were second-class citizens. So she's separated because of her gender. She's a woman. We also think she's separated because she would have probably, most scholars believe, she would have been labeled unclean because of the religious laws of that time, going all the way back to Leviticus. This woman was considered unclean because she's been hemorrhaging. She's been bleeding from her body for 12 years. Constant flow. She's also financially broke and destitute because we're told in the story that she has spent all that she has on medical treatment, which hasn't made her condition worse, but it certainly hadn't made it any better either. And so we see this woman, she's unnamed, because most women in the Bible, by the way, they do not have a name. And this unnamed woman, at least according to as the story's told in the Gospels, she never says one word about her predicament, much less her pain. But what she does is astonishing. What this woman does is she reaches out. She reaches out to touch the garment or the clothes that Jesus is wearing. And the strangest thing happens. Her blood flow stops suddenly, just like that. No more flow. And she feels it, we're told in the scripture. She feels in her body that she's healed of her disease. And Jesus feels it too. He has this real sense, this awareness of this power that is flowing out of his body. And so he turns. And here's an important verb here. He turns and he glares at the crowd. And he asks, "Who touched my clothing?" And the disciples throw up their hands. And they say, "You got to be kidding me, Jesus." And these disciples, they point out this impressive crowd that's pressing in upon him. And they say, "How on earth are we supposed to know in this crowd of people who reached out and touched your clothes?" But Jesus wants to know. And so he keeps scanning the crowd. And the woman, this woman, we are told, she's described like this: in fear and in trembling, she falls at the feet of Jesus and she shares the truth, that's the word, about what has happened to her. This woman speaks truth. She speaks her truth to power. And Jesus says to her, "Daughter, your faith, your courage has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." Now, the real healing power in this story, Jesus points this out. The real healing power in this story lies with the woman. It is her faith. It is her courage that has made her well. Now, of course, Jesus has pulled her out of the shadows of illness and isolation, but it's because she first reaches out to him. Daughter, Jesus says to her, because she has a name, she has meaning, and she has dignity, and she has worth, she has purpose. She's no longer living with something, she's living for something. Now, it's in that spirit that we're going to tell you all about today, a new emerging ministry in this church. And it is called, say it with me, Home Under the Dome. And I've been so excited to tell you about this. I've been on the edge of my seat, and people have had to take ropes to tie me back. I am so excited about what we are about to launch at this church, because it's all about bringing to people in isolation worth and meaning and dignity and purpose. And we're going to do this through a ministry that deals with memory loss. And you're going to learn the language to use as we help these people in their need. You know, in a world where people are living longer and longer, an epidemic is happening, and it's worldwide, and it's dementia. Dementia is on the rise. 55 million people across the world are coping with some form of memory loss called dementia. And according to the CDC, dementia is not a specific disease. It is a more general term for impaired ability to remember, think, or make decisions that interferes with doing everyday activities. And the most common form of dementia is Alzheimer's. 3 years ago, one of our pastors, Cleo McQueen, brought this need to my attention. She had learned about it from our district superintendent, Larry Hilliard. And Larry told Cleo about a ministry at First United Methodist Church of Montgomery, Alabama. And they had gotten nationwide, even worldwide, attention for this particular ministry. And Cleo learned all about it, and she said, Claire, it's so powerful. And she said to me, I think this church could do it. I said, great, as long as I don't have to do it. And she said, I'll do it. I'll take a team. And they traveled to First United Methodist Church. Some of you were part of that team, that you went to the training at First United Methodist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. And then they came back so excited. And then in January 2020, at our leadership meeting, you as leaders endorsed this ministry. And then the pandemic hit. And something we've learned as a church through that ordeal is that God's timing is not always our timing. We've learned to slow down. Slow and steady, Andy, wins the race. And what we've learned is we need to be more prayerful and deliberate about what we can wisely do. And we need to be deliberate about if we can sustain the ministry, either financially or with the people or resources that we have. And what we began to realize is that Cleo, who is a part-time minister appointed to this church, she really has full-time responsibility. Can I get an amen on that? Yeah. And she's helped us take care of our people as a primary pastor of pastoral care in this church and does a beautiful job. But what we realized is she can't do all that she's doing and then launch an entirely new ministry. And so we decided to wait. You know, we've been back in person, but we wanted to wait for the right people to lead this ministry. And I kept saying to the staff, I don't know who that is, but God will provide. But we've just got to wait for the right people to emerge. And I was thinking about what Peter Story, one of my professors in seminary, he lives in South Africa. He used to say of churches, give me 3 called people over 30 committees any day. I believe in my heart of hearts. I don't believe in accidents when it comes to relationships. You know that about me. And I believe God called Andy and Pam Gunkel not only to this church, but to this particular ministry for this season. And they are called, they are compassionate, they are passionate, and they are committed. And I've been having to hold Andy back. He's been ready to get to work. But we're planning to launch this ministry on early August. And let me just share a little bit about Andy and Pam. They are longtime members of this beautiful coastal community. They reared their family. They have a boy and 2 girls. They're adults now and thriving and have gone off to live their lives. And they were school teachers. Some of you, maybe you were taught by Andy or Pam, or they have an outstanding reputation as teachers in our community. And Andy helped lead, with some of you in our church, he helped lead a top-notch robotic program at Gulfport High School. And Andy has entrepreneurial skills and gifts, and they're willing to do this. And so I'm just really excited about what they're going to share. In a minute, I'm going to sit down, and they're going to tell you the who, the what, the why, and the how of Home Under the Dome. But I want to end my remarks with 2 quotes that we learned at the training. Back in February, I joined the Gunkles, and we went to the training in Montgomery. And here are 2 powerful quotes. It is not the person with dementia that forgets themselves, but the community that forgets them. And we cannot cure Alzheimer's, but we can cure loneliness. I want to invite you to join me in giving a warm applause of appreciation and support to our new Home Under the Dome directors, Andy and Pam Gunkel. Can I get a hug? Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. So, at my mom's funeral, the preacher reminisced about the times he had come to visit her at her home. And he said, the first time he came to visit her, they sat on the porch. And he sat in the swing, and she sat in one of those giant Dido rocking chairs, the ones that make people my height look like Lily Tomlin's character, Edith Ann, and that's the truth. And they shared a glass of iced tea and maybe about a 30-minute conversation. And then he said the next time he came to visit, she took him inside, and they bypassed the formal living area and went straight to the den and sat on the couch. And knowing my mother, also had another glass of iced tea and probably some cookies or a cake, and had a longer conversation. And he said even at one point they held hands and they prayed together. But he said the last time before my mom passed away, he came to visit. He said he knew he had made it into the family because we sat around the dining room table and shared a meal, a delicious meal, because my mother was a great cook, and a more vibrant conversation, and just wonderful fellowship. And I reflected on that and thought, my mom really knows that home is where love lives. There's just something special about home, about coming home or inviting people into our hospitality. People in the Bible sure knew this, right? The prodigal son knew that home was where he wanted to be, and boy, did his father confirm that fact. And Jesus went to people's homes like Mary and Martha and Zacchaeus and broke bread and had fellowship. And we even hear that God is preparing a home for us in heaven, which I am convinced has beautiful front porches and giant Dido furniture. I want to introduce you all to a new home that we're establishing right here at First United Methodist Church. Welcome to our Home Under the Dome, a respite ministry where love lives. And this ministry will help enrich the lives of adults with memory loss through fellowship and engaging activities, while also providing support for families and caregivers. And as Claire said, we're partnered with the Respite for All Foundation, which helps build respite ministries across the United States, and we will be their 24th respite care under their guidance. And even though this ministry began in the Methodist Church, it has become a multi-denominational movement. So I would like to walk y'all through the why, the who, and the what this ministry will look like by using a couple of verses from Proverbs. Proverbs 24, 3 and 4 says, "Through wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. So let's start with, through wisdom, a house is built. We know that in America today, approximately 55 million people suffer from some form of memory loss. 1 out of 7 over the age of 65 is diagnosed with some type of dementia. And this statistic drastically increases to 50% diagnosed in those over the age of 85. Every 65 seconds, someone in the United States develops Alzheimer's disease. The need is great, and it is wise to build the house. A respite ministry responds to this social need in so many ways. Our church has the physical space, and we are filled with caring and compassionate people who want to help others. Respite invites God to bring hope to everyone, even those with fragmented and fragile lives. Okay, so the next part of the verse states, by understanding, the house is established. So let me help you try to understand the who. This respite model is like a three-legged stool. You have the care partners, the participants, and the volunteers. So those taking care of people with memory loss will be able to bring their loved ones to our home under the dome, and then they will have that time away to take care of their own needs. And we also would like to establish a support group for the care partners. The second leg of the stool is the participant. Think about this. If we are truly made in the image of God, is that image limited to our cognitive ability? Of course not. A person's body and mind might get dementia, but their spirit is always strong. Yet sadly, this can be a lonely disease, both mentally and physically. We know for certain that participants in respite ministries show an improved quality of life. And one of the reasons for this improvement comes from the third leg of the stool, which is the volunteers. Volunteers will just simply meet people where they are. These debilitating diseases that rob people of their memory also, as we've stated, will steal away their connections with others. Volunteers in the respite program reconnect participants with the joy of fellowship and friendship. It may take in the shape of a game or music, exercise, sharing a meal, or doing a project, but in the end, it is God's love in the purest sense of the word. And as we've said, Lisa Genova in her book, Still Alice, said, we can't cure Alzheimer's, but we can cure loneliness. To give y'all an even better perspective of this ministry, I would like to introduce through this video Daphne Johnston. She is the co-founder of the Respite for All Foundation, and she is the director of the First United Methodist Church in Montgomery's Respite Care.
Oh, there she is. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. And I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
These are the people that have built your church. They're the pillars of your community. They have given their time, talent, and treasure. And now, when they need you the most, what has your church got for them as a ministry?
My name is Daphne Johnston, and I'm the executive director of the Respite Ministry at First United Methodist Church in Montgomery, Alabama.
When I was young, I guess, if you had dementia, you just sort of went on the back porch and rocked. We have so much to give, and we are still very vital to ourselves, our families, our community.
Everything we do, we try to have purpose.
I want us at each table to come up with 15 ways that we can help our neighbor.
We do art, we do music, we do pet therapy, we do weight training, we do yoga, we do chapel services through the month. We need to do projects that lift people up. So we do these things together to send to the hospital, to send to the nursing home, to send to shut-ins. We travel all over the city to sing in different places, and then they have a final concert to put on for the community. I think my group thinks they're the Rockettes.
There's so many things that we can do and help anybody that will let us help them.
I do want to be there for anybody that needs me.
That I go home and I feel so different than when I came.
The twinkle in everybody's eye, the joy that I see God when I am here. I see Him in every face I look into.
With the disease comes isolation. We realized that they didn't even have an opportunity to still be a part of a spiritual community.
I am a God of plenty. I never run out of good things.
And so when someone can't remember their loved one's name anymore, or they might not be able to remember how many grandchildren they have, but they know they've got an internal need to pray for their family and not themselves. It's in us, and we need an outlet to be able to pray together. The ministry has spread. We've helped 4 or 5 other programs get up and running, and 2 or 3 in the cooker. And they're all based in the United Methodist Church, and 140 different volunteers from 8 different churches and 2 synagogues. It is our duty to get out there and do new mission work, not just the same ministries we've done year after year, and be the hands and feet of Christ.
The final part of the verse in Proverbs proclaims, "By knowledge the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches." So let's talk about the outcome. We know the rooms will be filled with God's love when we answer the call to serve. All precious and pleasant riches radiated from the faces you just witnessed on that video. A wise woman, let's call her Claire, once said, "You're never too old to come home." So let's build our home under the dome together at First United and invite our friends to come and fellowship with us. And let's give our time and talents to nourish each other. Another wise woman, let's definitely call her Mother Teresa, said, "Love begins by taking care of the closest ones, the ones at home." And as my mom knew all along, home is where love lives.